Perfect, 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 perfect,
All right, we are starting a brand new series today called Strong and Courageous. I'm really excited to start this series. I think it's going to challenge us and push us to become all that God has called us to be, to become greater in everything that we do. So if you have your Bibles, open up to Joshua, and we're just going to go ahead and dive in right here. Joshua 1 verse 2 says this, "Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all the people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I am about to give them, to the children of Israel. Moses, my servant, is dead." Kind of to set the scene and to let you know what's going on here. This is Joshua. He's the one that's following the leader, the great leader, Moses. We've looked at Moses in the past and we've seen what Moses did. Moses is that incredible man that God called out in order to deliver the children of Israel out of 400 years of captivity, of slavery. He went in, the 10 plagues happened, brought the children of Israel out, parted the Red Sea, went into the wilderness. Because of the children of Israel and their disobedience, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. And while they wandered, Moses was leading them. In order to lead them, God sent a cloud by day. God sent fire by night to lead them. Not only that, when they were hungry, what God would do is He would send manna and food in order for them to eat. Not enough for them to store up so that they could save for the next day. He just gave them exactly the amount that they needed for that day. And so that's the incredible thing. This is the incredible leader, Moses. He's the one that went up onto the mountain and God spoke to him and he came down and he led the people. Just an incredible man. Well, now Joshua, it's his turn to step up and to become the leader. And so the first thing I want us to look at today is this: following a great leader. Sometimes it's hard to follow a great leader. Sometimes it's hard to be that next man up. I like the Thunder. And the Thunder are my favorite team, and I love watching them. But kind of their motto, and you hear when they talk about somebody going down, somebody getting injured, somebody not being there, they just say, it's just next man up. It's next man up. It's next man up. They got to be ready to go. Even though they're sitting on the bench, their time can come, and when their time comes, it's time for them to step up, and it's time for them to get in the game, and it's the time for them to play well. It's next man up. See, this is Joshua. Moses, this incredible leader, now is gone, and now Joshua is the next man up, and it's his job in order to set the stage. But here's what you have to understand about a leader. A leader is not made in the moment most times. A leader is made before he steps into the position. A leader's made by the person that he follows. See, you have to understand who you follow matters. When I pull my phone out and when I start looking, on my phone, we've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter now. We've got all this incredible access right here at our fingertips. It connects us to people that we would never be connected to. It connects us to people that we don't even know, that we don't even talk to. Cody now runs our Way Church social media page, and he'll take snapshots and send it to me, and it'll have names of different people that have started following us, and sometimes it's these big names that we don't, I don't even know them, but they've started following us, and he's like, this is so cool, they're following us now, and it's so-and-so's name, and it's so-and-so's name, and they're following us, and they like this, and they like that. It's awesome, because we love to look and to see who's following us, and we love to look and see, what kind of impact we're having. Well, what you have to understand is when Joshua stepped into this role of leadership, God is speaking to Joshua, and he says, Moses is dead, now it's your turn. Moses did his part, Moses did his job, now it's time for you to step up and for you to start leading. But Joshua wasn't a great leader because of his ability. He was a great leader because he followed a great leader. See, you have to understand who you follow matters. See, who you're hearing and who you're watching makes a big difference. Because sometimes I see in myself and I see what goes on and I see what happens and I start following, I start listening to the wrong voice. I start listening to somebody that maybe is not leading the same way that I do, that maybe doesn't speak the same way I do. And I start watching and listening to them enough that I change who I am because I'm following them, because I'm hearing them, because I'm seeing them. And all of a sudden I start to change maybe the way I do things. I start changing the way I'm saying things. I was following a buddy of mine and he would always say in his message, "Come on, somebody." And so for a while I was always saying, "Come on, somebody." Like, that's good. Come on. Because who I follow has an impact on my life. See, who you follow impacts you whether you know it or not. And some of you, the people you're following and what you're doing online and where you're going and how you're following them and everything like that, even though you may not consciously really be making the decisions to do these things, you're acting different, you're talking different when you get around friends and you're struggling in your marriage and things are going on that shouldn't be going on. Who you're hearing and the voices you're hearing are having an impact on the decisions that you're making. And so you're all of a sudden have this negative attitude towards your husband, towards situations in your life because you're listening to the wrong voices. Because the voices that you're letting into your mind have a major impact on your life. Who you follow matters. See, and so Joshua knew that, and God knew that, and God knew that who Joshua was following and why Joshua was following him, that mattered. That Moses was an incredible leader and Joshua was going to be a great leader because he was following an incredible leader. And to me, there's 3 different types of leaders. And if you look at things and if you read leadership books and everything like that, there are other people who define them in different ways. But for me personally, I see 3 different types of leader. The first one is this. The first one is a positional leader. There's somebody who has the authority of leadership because they've been put into that position. You as a parent have a position of leadership because you have a child. Some of you have a position of leadership because you've been promoted to manager, to boss, to VP, to president, whatever it is. You've started a business. And because of that, you now have a position of leadership. But then there's people that I call natural leaders. Natural leaders are people who, it doesn't matter the position that they hold. It doesn't matter the position that they have. There is something inside of them that no matter where they are or what they're doing, they lead. And when they walk into a room, people follow them. When they start speaking, people listen. It doesn't matter if they have the title or not. They have the gift and the ability to lead no matter what. And you see them in rooms where you're sitting around a business table, you're sitting around a meeting, and one person, he doesn't have the authority, he doesn't have the title, but when he speaks, everybody listens. And when he gives an idea, it's a great idea, and everybody's just like, yeah, let's do that. Because he's a natural leader. And it doesn't matter his title, it doesn't matter his position, he just leads. And then the third one is a learned leader. It's somebody who maybe isn't a natural leader, but they followed the right person. And in following the right person, they've become a great leader. And so maybe they don't have the position, they don't have the authority, but they step in and they've been watching and they've been following and in watching and following, they have stepped in and become an incredible leader because of the people that they are following. See, what you have to understand is who you follow matters. My dad's a football coach. Where he was, and he's retired, and now my brother has stepped into the role that my dad was in. And when my brother stepped in, the crazy thing about it is who you follow is who you become. Who you follow is the way that you lead. And so I lead because of the people that I'm looking to and the people that have led before me, and I have been watching them. I lead that way. Because that's what I know. That's what I've seen. That's what's been modeled in front of me, and so that's what my dad was a football coach. There were things that mattered to him, really 3 things that mattered to my dad. One was character. Character was a big deal for my dad in the way that he led his football team. But the other one was he wanted to do things with excellence. He wanted to get things right. And the third one was hard work. He wanted you giving everything that you had every time you stepped onto the football field. When my dad retired, my brother took over. You know the 3 things, whether my brother verbalizes them or not? You know the 3 things that are important to my brother's football team when I stand back and watch? Character, okay? Hard work, and excellence. Why? Because he models the leader that he follows. You model who you follow. See, my dad, before every football game, scripture memory had nothing to do with football, but character had everything to do with football. So before every football game, our team had to memorize a verse in the Bible that he would give us before we were ever able to step on the football field. And if we couldn't memorize the verse, we couldn't play. Because character mattered to him. And he knew that football was just creating in us something bigger than us. And so character mattered to him, so he put an emphasis on character. He put an emphasis on excellence. And so we ran plays over and over and over and over until we got them right, until everybody got them right. But we had hard work. We worked harder than anybody else, and he kept talking to us. And every time before we would step out onto the field, he would tell us, leave your heart on the field. Make people carry you off. Meaning, give everything that you've got. Don't have any regrets. My brother leads that way now because of the example and the model that he had before him. So my question to you is this: who are you following? Who are you following today? Who are you looking to? Who's the voice that's speaking into you? Who's the one that you look and you're almost kind of a carbon copy of the person that you're following? You respond the way that they respond. You do what they do. You make decisions and you move forward like they make decisions. Because some of you are following the wrong people because you look and you say, I want their end result. But the problem is, in order to get their end result, they compromise character or they compromise something. So now you're compromising something because you want their end result, because who you are following is not who you should be following. See, Joshua became a great leader, not because he's an incredible person, but because he followed a great leader. Moses, can you imagine following Moses around? And being kind of right in his hip pocket and standing before Pharaoh, and you get to kind of stand back at the distance and you're standing before Pharaoh, and as you're standing before Pharaoh, you hear Moses speaking to Pharaoh. God said to let my people go. But he probably said it more like, God said to let my people go. And you're just like, oh my gosh, that'll send chills up and down your spine. And Joshua's standing back and hearing him, and Pharaoh says, no, who is this God you're talking about? There's no way we're doing that. And Moses says, fine, here comes a plague. Here comes 10 plagues. Your son's going to die. Then all of a sudden he lets them go. The children of Israel escape. They get to the Red Sea. And when they get to the Red Sea, all of a sudden they turn around. There's nowhere to go because there's the Red Sea in front of them. The army, the Egyptians are chasing them, and they're fixing to come kill them and take them and put them back into slavery. They're screaming at Moses, Moses, what have you done? You've just brought us out here to die. And Moses stands up, and Joshua standing kind of back in the corner. And Moses stands up and he's like, hey, God's got this. Watch this. Holds his staff out. All of a sudden, the waters part, and you're sitting there and you're just like, oh my goodness. Like, what in the world? And then you cross through, and then all of a sudden the waters fall on the enemy and kill them all. And then you're in the wilderness, and the people start complaining again. Moses, we're hungry, we're hungry. And all of a sudden he prays, and God just releases food from heaven, and they eat every single day. Like, you get a front row seat to all this. Joshua's an incredible leader because he followed an incredible leader. Who are you following? 1 Corinthians 11:1 says this, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. Paul looks at the people and he says, hey, if you will follow me, you'll become more like Jesus. If you'll follow me, if you'll imitate and mimic me, then you will become more like Jesus because I'm following Jesus. The decisions I make, the words that I speak, where I go, the steps that I take, what I do, what I invest in, everything is going to point you to Jesus. See, who you follow needs to be pointing you to Jesus. The example that you need to be looking to is not the example and it's funny sometimes because I'll be sitting there and we'll be around some friends or something, and they're like, oh my gosh, did you see what Kim did? I'm like, who's Kim? And Megan's like, oh, you know Kim. And I'm like, who's Kim? And she's like, Kim Kardashian. I'm like, I don't know Kim. And she's like, well, we know her through social media. Can you believe she did this and everything like that? And all, like you feel like you're connected because they're following somebody. But here's the thing, the one you need to follow is the one that's going to point you to Jesus. You need to look and you need to see, who are you following? Who are you looking to right now, no matter your age? Because listen, leaders are learners. Leaders never stop learning. One of the greatest statements I've ever heard, I heard from a pastor. He runs 30,000 people, and I was sitting talking to him, and he said, Johnny, leaders are learners, and he said this, and he said, everybody's a teacher. And he said, if I just look to people with churches that are bigger to me to teach me, he said, I'm foolish. He said, but even though you have a small church right now, you still have so much wisdom to give. That's an incredible leader. Every leader is a learner, and everybody is a teacher. You can learn from anybody, but make sure who you're following is pointing you to Jesus. Next thing we find is this, the word spoken over a leader. See, Joshua hears this. God speaks to him. Joshua, Moses, my servant, he's dead. And then he says this, verse 5, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will never leave you, and I will never forsake you. God knew what Joshua needed to hear in that moment. God knew Joshua was thinking about the incredible leadership that Moses had given, and he's thinking, I'm unqualified. Moses for the past 40-something years has led us, and he's done an incredible job. And he came off the mountain, and he had this change, and he had this glow to him because he had met with you. Like, God, I don't think I'm capable of leading the people the way that you want me to lead them. And God looks at Joshua and speaks into Joshua's life exactly what Joshua needed to hear at exactly the right time. Joshua, no one will stand against you, and I will be with you. I will be with you just as I was with Moses, and I will never leave you, and I will never forsake you. See, what God had to do is God had to push rewind in order for Joshua to go forward, because Joshua needed to see in order to believe. And so what God had to do is God had to remind Joshua of everything that Moses had done. Joshua, you remember? You were standing right there. You remember the plagues? Remember the Red Sea? Remember the food? Remember the cloud and the fire? You remember the way I was there? And all of a sudden he starts speaking into Joshua, because here's the thing, words matter. Words matter. Because you have to understand, when you get up in the morning, and when you get out of bed and you roll out of bed, and just the simplest of words make the greatest difference in your life. I'm tired. Wish I had a little more time to sleep. How's your attitude? What's your life like the rest of the day? Man, wish I could just get back in bed. Man, I'm so tired, I can't wait to crawl in bed. Your entire day is sluggish, not because of the way you feel, but because of the words that you've spoken. Have you ever been tired, but had a job that had to be accomplished, and you decided that no matter how tired I am, I'm getting this job done, and you wake up, and you're like, okay, come on. This is the day. I got to get it done. I don't have a choice. And all of a sudden, the same fatigue that you had the day before that you spoke over yourself now has changed, because you understand there's a job to accomplish, and your mindset has changed the way your day has gone. God looked and recognized that in order for Joshua to be the leader that he needed to be, Joshua needed to remember and see and hear the words spoken over him that he needed to hear. Because the words you speak, they matter. And you have to remember what God's done in your life. Because maybe some days you get up and you don't feel it, but you need to look back to the past and you need to say, I saw God. I've seen God do this. I've seen God faithful in my life. I've seen God work in my life. I've seen God do incredible things in my life. I've seen God do this. I've seen God do that. I've seen God work in their life. I've seen God change families. I've seen God change hearts. I've seen God make marriages whole. I've seen God bring families back together. I've seen it. And since I've seen it, I know He can do it, because what God was saying is, Joshua, Moses is not this incredible man. Moses isn't just this incredible man that only Moses can do this. Moses was incredible not because of his ability, but because of his availability. And God's trying to speak into Joshua. It's not who you are. It's what I'm going to do through you that counts and that matters. The words that's spoken over you, they matter. And so then it says this in verse 6. Be strong and be courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land that I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and be very courageous. Be strong and be very courageous. Be strong and be very courageous. Because Joshua is sitting there and he's thinking, God, Moses couldn't even lead them into the promised land. God, He's led us for 40 years, and now you want me to go conquer these people. You want me to lead them into battle. The wandering children, you now want me to make them warriors. God, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can be the person that you've called me to be. God, I'm fearful. I'm afraid. And the words that God speaks over Joshua is not, it's okay. I know you're a little scared. I know you're a little fearful. It's okay. It's okay. No, He says, Joshua, you are strong. Joshua, you are courageous. And then look at what He says. He says, you are strong and courageous. I'm going to lead you, and you will conquer the land. And then He says it again. You are strong, and you are courageous. You are strong, and you are courageous. See, God believes more in you than you believe in yourself. I coach basketball. We got second yesterday. Some terrible calls. Refs were horrible. No. But I coach basketball. It was not my fault. It was the players' fault. Coaching-wise, I was the best coach there. The players just fell short. But no, I was coaching, and here's the thing. A lot of times, they're only first and second graders, kindergarten first and second graders, so you can't see a lot. But what I have to speak into them is you can do more than you think you can. Little things. Like, hey, don't grab the ball with two hands. Don't double dribble. Like, it's not, you can do it. I can't. I had this one kid, and he would dribble, and it was just going everywhere, and he's just standing there crying, I can't do it. I can't, coach. I can't do it. And I'm just like, God, hold on, you can. Watch. And I grabbed his hand, and I started pushing the ball down. And he... I'm doing it, coach. Just little things. Why? Because the words that you speak can change the outcome, can change the mindset of a person. Look at what Proverbs 18:21 says. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. What you speak over your kids matters. Oh, they're just shy. They weren't, but they are now. Have you ever seen a kid and they come up and they stand behind their mom and dad and just like, and you're like, hey, how are you? And they're just, oh, they're just shy. It's okay. They don't have to be, but they are because you allow them to be. Because the words that you speak over them matter. Oh, they're just mean sometimes. Really? Boys will be boys. Really? Because the words that you speak, your kids are hearing, and what you're saying, they're becoming. You're the leader they're following. And so what you're saying matters. They never mind. It's all right. They just never mind. And they never will. Keep saying it, because they won't. It's the truth. But if you start speaking, and that's what I do with my kids, and I try. I don't catch it every time, but I try. That's not who you are. This is who you are. You don't act that way. That's not who we are as a family. We don't treat people like that. We don't say words like that. This is who you are. And I speak into them, and I don't allow what I don't want them to be who they are. See, they're terrible. No, they're not. They're not terrible. They're just not smart enough. It's okay. It's not your subject. And it never will be. Because the words that you speak over them, it's who they're going to become. You're their leader. What you say matters. You lead people, and when you lead people, what you say they hear, and it's who they become. Watch the people that work underneath you, not just kids. You build them up, greater leaders. You tear them down, defeated leaders. Watch it. Your words matter. But not even that. What about this? I can't start a business. I can't run a marathon. I can't memorize scripture. I'm not a reader. I wasn't good in school. And all of a sudden you start making excuses for yourself because what you speak over yourself matters too. What you speak over you matters. And so God looks at Joshua and says, be strong and courageous. Here's the thing about courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is facing fear head on. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's facing fear head on. One of my friends, Steve Russell, he's Congressman Russell now. He was Lieutenant Colonel Steve Russell. And he was there when Saddam Hussein was captured. His group was there. And he told a story one time when he was preaching. He told a story one time about how he had gotten the call that his squad was going to go and they had to take and hold this city. Because if they didn't take and hold this city, then the whole region could fall. And so he said, we got the call and we head in, and when we get there, he said, all of a sudden we get there and a firefight breaks out, just guns and bullets are flying everywhere, and we get pinned down behind this building. And he said, we've got to get up this road so that then we can take the city. He said, it is the only way in. And he said, and they are shooting everywhere. And I'm standing there right at the corner of the building, and bullets are hitting, and I can feel them, and I'm getting hit by the brick and everything as bullets are flying off. And he goes, and I'm just standing there, and I'm screaming at my men, come on, get out there. We've got to take this. Get out there and fight. And they're pinned behind this building, and bullets are just flying by. And he's standing there just imploring them, get out there. Get out there. Come on. And nobody could move because they were gripped with fear. And so he turned around and he took off and he ran to the middle of the street and he put his back to the enemy and he looks at his guys and he starts screaming at them, come on, you can do this, get out here, we have to fight, come fight with me, come on. And one by one, those guys ran out from behind the wall and they took that street and they eventually took that city. And he said, Johnny, I was terrified. He said, I knew I was going to die. He said, but I knew if I didn't step out there, every one of my men would die. He goes, I was terrified. That's courage. And God is looking at Joshua and God is saying, I see something more in you than you see in yourself. And maybe you need to start getting up and you need to start speaking over yourself, not what you see, but what God sees in you. Not who you see standing back in the mirror, but you start speaking what God sees over you and who God created you to be. And it will change the day that you have, because you no longer walk out defeated. But you are more than a conqueror. You are not the tail, but you are the head. You are not the loser. You are the winner. You are seated in the heavens with God, not because of what you've done, but because of what He's done. You are an heir to the throne. You are loved. You are forgiven, all because of Jesus. If you start speaking what He sees in you over you, it changes everything. And God knew that about Joshua, and God knew Joshua needed to hear this. Joshua needed to hear these words. And so he said this, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. It's easy to go somewhere when you know somebody's going with you. We have a basement downstairs, and the girls, all my kids hate at night because it gets black down there. And they hate going down there and turning lights off. Like, hey, run downstairs, turn all the lights off so we can go to bed. Dad, will you go with us, please? Dad, please go with us. Dad, I'm scared. Just stand on the stairs so I can see you. If I can see you, I'm good. But Dad, please come down here. Please don't make me go by myself. Dad, I'm scared. Dad, I can't do it. Dad, I can't. I need you. It's easier to go someplace when you know somebody greater is going with you. See, what God wanted to tell Joshua is, listen, you're not going alone. No matter how strong and courageous you are, you're still not going alone. Judd thinks he's pretty bad. He's 8 years old, and he thinks he's pretty tough. But there's times he just looks and he's like, Dad, will you come with me? Dad, I need you to come with me. Dad, I'm a little scared. And he'll whisper it. Okay, I'll go with you. Why? Because when you know somebody going with you can accomplish what you can't, it's easy to go. God knew what Joshua needed to hear. And God spoke those words over him. God knows what you need to hear, and he's speaking those words over you. He's letting you, hey, I love you. Hey, I'm for you. Hey, you can. Hey, you're greater. Hey, you're strong. Hey, you're courageous. Hey, you're loving. Hey, you're kind. And God knows exactly what you need to hear, and he starts speaking it over your ears, just like he was speaking over Joshua. And the last thing is this: honoring of the past leaders. Verses 10 through 15, Joshua goes through, and verse 13 says this: remember the command that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you after he said, the Lord your God will give you rest by giving you this land. What Joshua did to the children of Israel when he stood before them, and a lot of times it's hard for leaders to do this, he honored the leader that was in front of him. See, it's hard to honor somebody that's gone before you, because a lot of times when you honor them, what it feels like you're doing is you're taking a shot at the lack of leadership that you have. You're revealing your inability by honoring their ability. And you feel like when I give them honor, I'm showing you where I'm weak. But that's not the case at all. Honor is respect. Honor is showing respect for the people that have gone before you. And Joshua is reminding the children of Israel, I'm not Moses, and we honor him because he was an incredible leader. But you can follow me too. You can follow me. It's okay to follow me. And where we go, we're going to go where he has built the foundation for us to go. And the only reason that we can get there is because of what Moses did behind us. And we would not be able to move to the promised land if Moses had not done what Moses had done. And so if Moses hadn't laid the groundwork of the 40 years of leadership before Joshua, the children of Israel would not have been able to enter into the promised land. See, what you have to understand is there's leaders that have gone before you that you need to honor. And it doesn't show your weakness when you honor somebody that's gone before you. See, for us as a church, we were set up and tear down for 2 years. We packed everything we had. We called ourselves homeless because we packed everything that we had in a trailer, and we would set it up on Sunday mornings. Then we would tear it down and we would leave it in a trailer for a week only to set it up again. But it's the incredible leadership of the church that was here before, Westside, under Pastor Vernon, that gave us the opportunity to be who we are today. And without his leadership, we would not be here today. And without him laying the groundwork for what God has done right here on the property with the people of Westside, we would not be who we are today. We would not be able to reach the community of Sapulpa with the gospel of Jesus Christ if we did not have great leaders come before us. There's a reason for the leaders in your life. There's a reason for the people that have gone before you, and they have laid a groundwork so that you can do even greater things. God wants to work in you so that he can work through you, so that he can do greater things. But he's used the leaders in the past in order to build on what you've done. See, we would never be able to do this. We would never be in this building. We would still be set up and tear down. We would still be homeless. And we would be struggling. But because of the leadership of the church before us, we've seen so many people come to know Jesus. We've seen a community that's going to be changed. Because they laid the groundwork, and we get to go into the promised land. They did the hard work, and we get to go reap the benefits. It's their leadership. And we honor their leadership and what they have laid right here. But here's what we cannot do. We cannot take for granted what God's done. And we will not forget what God's done. But here's the thing, we're not going to stay here. We're going forward. And we're pressing on. And we're going to take claim to what God has done. And every bit of what we're doing honors the leaders that were before us. Every one of them. Every one of them. And the vision that they have laid before us. Listen, honor. Honor is something that is being lost in this world so fast. But it is so important. It is so important to honor the people around you. Honor is not weakness. Honor is respect and admiration for those that have gone before. Listen, we are a people. We are a people that are going to honor those that have gone before us. They have done something incredible, but here's what I know. God's taking us to the promised land. We're going to go there. We're going to see more people saved. We're going to see more people reached. The reason we have to go to more services is because our services are getting full other than today. Now you got me rethinking this whole thing. I'm like, oh, gosh, what is going on? But God's doing something. And God's working. And God's making a way. And He's done it through the leaders. Who are you following? Who are you listening to? Who are you becoming? Who? Who's got your eye? Who's got your ear? Who are you standing behind and watching what they do? Who are you trying to become? But not only that, have you been honoring the leaders that are in front of you? Have you been honoring them? Because your words matter. What you speak matters. The leader you're going to become is a leader that speaks over you. Who's speaking over you? Words matter. And so today, everything can change by the words that you speak. What kind of day are you going to have? What kind of day are you going to have tomorrow? What words are you speaking?
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.